We'll call the meeting to order. It's 6:42. Start roll call. I'm going to start on my left. Mike Wallace. Michael Riddle. Call the meeting.
Maybe to it.
All right, and that is for. Thanks, everybody. And the next order of business, pledge of allegiance.
Is a republic, just one nation, under indivisible, liberty and justice.
Thank you. And I didn't notice when we're going to do that you have a nice backdrop for our 10th anniversary.
Yes. Whatever.
Very nice. So public comment. Nobody on the side of public comments. We'll move right on to agenda item number 3, swearing in ceremonies. We have three people who were elected, Mr. Kevin Willis, Ms. Becky Country, and myself. So
I'll turn over to Mary Allison's on with us, and we'll administer the board oath.
I will do it. Would y'all like to all repeat the oath at the same time, or would y'all like to do it individually? Either way is fine.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Robbie. If there was a response, I couldn't hear it.
are we muted?
I can hear you now. Did y'all want to do it all at the same time, or do y'all want to do it individually? All at the same time?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. If you'll raise your hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I am duly qualified, according to the Constitution of this state,
Constitution of this state,
to exercise the duties of the office
to exercise the duties of the office
to which I have been elected or appointed,
which I've been elected or appointed.
and that I will,
I will,
to the best of my ability,
best of my ability,
discharge the duties thereof,
the duties thereof,
and preserve,
preserve,
protect, and defend the Constitution of this state and of the United States.
and of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, everyone.
Thank you. So, Becky, welcome to being an elected official.
Just in time for her to cast a vote here on the consent agenda.
Say again?
I said just in time, now she can vote on the consent agenda.
Yes, awesome. So we are coming up on, yes, number 4, the consent agenda. So that's the approval of today's agenda, the July financials, and the minutes from our last meeting on June 18th. So does anybody have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Any second? All in favor? Aye. Okay, with that, next order of business is the head of school report, Dr. Coggins.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk for a few moments. So, some general updates, some assessment updates, and then facilities update for everyone. So, that's our staff photo. Every year we try to change it up, and this year we filled up the hallway. So, but that's our staff, and I'll tell you, all in all, we've had an incredible start to the school year. Both with enrollment, with instruction, with our teachers, students. I mean, it's really has been a really good start. So enrollment. So on day one, enrollment was 751, we're currently 752. And then just as a reminder, our budget was built on 750. So we hit kind of our early mark. We've got a few little areas that we're still working on. Pretty extensive wait list with most of our middle school classes, which is exciting. And we kind of saw this happen over the summer. Just we lost a little bit more than we were anticipating between that 8th and 9th grade year. And looking at the exit data, so when family withdrawals, they have a little bit of an exit survey, and easily 95% of them really had nothing but positive things to say. The final two questions we asked in the exit survey was, would you consider Riverwalk a good place to learn, or would you recommend Riverwalk to a friend? And then the other one, would you ever consider coming back? And the majority of them said yes and yes. What we are finding is that the folks who are leaving us are wanting either a larger specific type of program, whether it's a certain athletic program, or additional activities that just a larger school would have. But I do think with the building coming along and some efforts that are being made right now in middle school and 9th grade, I don't think we'll ever be able to match the number of extracurricular offerings that a large high school is going to have. But our numbers are definitely in the areas of extracurricular, and our offerings that we've got are definitely increasing over the past couple of years. So we'll be heading into kind of a middle school open house in a couple of weeks. You'll start seeing some more information coming out, of activities additional to just athletics. So that's where we sit. I would say if you looked over, if you look at like last year's numbers versus this year's, especially like in that senior year number, it looks like we've lost a few, but the areas where we lost were students who graduated early. So they were still coded 11th grader until the point of exit. So that's why 12 is a little bit lower than it was ending last year's in 11th grade, but it's just due to the early graduates. But we are excited that we will head into the 30s this year for graduation. So our biggest class thus far has been 22, and so it'll be nice if we're going to be able to add another 10 this year. So definitely pleased with kind of where we're at. Some other events for y'all. So last Friday, the State Department of Ed released the results of the 2024 assessments, state assessments. We're talking 3rd grade through 8th grade SE Ready, ELA, 3rd to 8th grade math, and of course exams, so algebra, English, 2, biology, US history, and then the career ready assessments. I'll kind of just give you a high level overview of the data, where it sits, but just a few things to keep in mind that these are not report card data. So report card data and all that will be coming out in October. So some of this will go into the report card rankings and how they designate, either exemplary, satisfactory, all that. At this point, those data aren't released. These are just simply raw data results. So, I get one example is like for our career readiness assessment. So the 11th graders just took it. We're now seniors, and that data I'm getting ready to show you. But for report card purposes, it's the data from last year's seniors. So again, data you might see today might look a little different than the report card, because either what they use for the report card could be slightly different, or like in SE Ready's case, they apply business rules. So if the student is not here like in the 45th day, then those students' scores, while reported in the raw data, will be excluded, because that person's not been here long enough to say that are those results are a result of being at Riverwalk. So again, just a few things to keep in mind. I'll tell you all in all, we're fairly pleased. Definitely some areas of strength. Some movement gains that we made last year, 2 years ago to last year. We've got some areas that are still work in progress for us. But like I said, all in all, we were fairly pleased. Give you 3 data points here. So this will be like SU Ready, so third through eighth grade all put together. And I've got a further breakdown, I don't have it in tonight's slides, but, it's on the website and shared with y'all on Friday, but, this is ELA across the board, so take all of our third to eighth, put them together. Comparing us, blue, with Rock Hill School District 3, since that's, we were a house, we would go to Rock Hill 3, and then with state. So, the category that, I like to look at, will be meet or exceeding. So, so we outperformed the local district and the state when it came to the number of students or percent of our students that met or exceeded, ELA. Like I said, collectively third through eight, I'll tell you, just for ELA specific, each of our grade levels did phenomenal. The other piece that is a little telling as well is the approaches meets and exceeds. And so, that means that, we also got a group that's super close in terms of being able to meet. And then when you're a school side like ours, that really trickles down to just a handful of students. One third grader can sway, 4% one way or 4% the other. And so when you really look at it, like I said, it tells us that we do well with our students who are advanced. You can see that we've moved a lot of students over who are kind of doesn't meet because those numbers are sitting in that approach category. So again, ELA, definitely a strong suit for us right now. And so that's kind of what you're looking at with that one. Switching over to math. Math's a little bit different story. Not exactly where we want it. I will tell you our elementary program is a little bit stronger right now for math than our middle school. And when you look at specifically within third grade within elementary, who was our strengths and where our weaknesses, you definitely it pinpoints again, when you're so small and certain grade level, certain teacher. And so, I think a lot of work kind of going into this year in terms of some personnel, some specific training support that we're going to be able to provide. So we do think it's a little bit different. Not quite where we want it from meets and exceeds. And again, this is just general third through eighth together. Elementary, like I said, does look a little bit stronger, and we're right on par with elementary. Like the middle, we took a little bit of a hit. However, it's not as discouraging because when you look at the last category, it tells us that we've got this group that's right there, and we're just talking a handful of students that if we were to be able to focus our efforts on, I think you'll definitely see it shift the needle a little bit. And so, again, not exactly where we wanted it to be. However, definitely leaves us in a good spot, I think, to work from this year and to make gains. And so I'm very confident with some of the new teachers that we've hired. We've got a few new middle school math teachers, and just a kind of a little bit of a shift down in elementary. I think a year from now, these results will look very similar to kind of what we're seeing with math in terms of more on par. So again, that's just that's our elementary data to kind of highlight for you. So end of course exams, these are specifically Algebra 1, Biology, English 2, and U.S. History. Some subjects better than others. One subject definitely, I think we need to spend time over this break to kind of reevaluate how to better support within some of our subjects. Obviously, there's a heavy emphasis on math and ELA. But I think looking at some of the data this summer kind of reminds us that U.S. history is another area that we probably need to focus some of our efforts on, and so that is being done behind the scenes. Not quite where we want it to be, but I will tell you, and again, so looking at where we're at today, if you look at our trend data, so like algebra 2 years ago, we were 15%. So to say that we're at 38% today, again, 38 is not necessarily hitting it out of the park, but we're definitely heading in the right direction. So if we were to kind of take a step back and look at, algebra, same thing for biology. Biology back in the day was 8% 2 years ago, and now we're at 35%. So again, 35 is not necessarily where we want to hang our hat, but knowing that just 2 years ago, we were 8% there, tells us that we're definitely heading in a much better direction. English 2 has obviously been a strength of ours. And then we've got some work to do in US history and we've got a few pieces as to why US history is like that. We do have a group of students that do not take US history with us. They take it through as part of the dual enrollment program. So their instruction is not based necessarily on your South Carolina's US history standards. It's 2 courses they've got to take over with Tech to get the US history credit. So I think that's kind of one of the things that we're looking at. And then obviously I think just the fact that the spark. So again, definitely heading in the right direction in most of the subjects. And definitely, I think, setting ourselves up for even more success next year. So some of these gaps that you're seeing now, as we kind of track cohorts over time, I think we're going to be able to close some of those gaps even more. So, excited about that. And career assessment, the state tests 11th graders on their career readiness, and they are given anywhere from a no rating to a bronze rating to a silver to a gold and platinum. So this is the percent of students in the blue, the percent of students who earn silver or higher. So that's the metric for state accountability purposes, is earning a silver and higher. And then the red is anyone who earned any sort of certification or credential, bronze or higher. So you can see in all of our categories, both silver and higher for accountability purposes, and then also for just any credential outperformed the district and the state as well. And I will tell you, this is a pretty significant improvement over the previous year. It's not been an assessment that we really don't spend a lot of, historically, we haven't spent a lot of time focusing on. This past year, realizing that, when you're looking at high school accountability, there's not a lot of points you can earn, not a lot of categories. We only have 4 state assessments and then this, and so we realized that we've got to put a little bit of effort in career raters and actually spending some time, not necessarily preparing for the test, but at least exposing the students to what's going to be on there. And so obviously the effort has paid off a little bit. So you can kind of see that there. So
did you say we have exceeded Rock Hill School District and the state in these measures?
Yeah, so 54% of our students had silver or higher. Rock Hill was at 46%, and the state was at 53%. And then any credential, we're at 77. Rock Hill was at 70, and the state's average was 70. It's pretty good.
It's right there.
So, I mean, all in all, pleased, not fully satisfied. I don't think we'll be anytime soon. Even where we really did well with ELA, I don't think we're letting up at all there. So definitely have our work cut out for us this year. And but if you look at, like I said, our trend data over the past 3 years, we are definitely heading in the direction we need to be heading. So that's the state release. Like I said, in about 6 weeks or so, we'll start having an idea of report card data. So last year I think our elementary was excellent. Our middle school, I think, was average or satisfactory. I think average, above average. That's cool. Yeah. So until the folks at the state run all those data behind the scenes, we can only kind of guess where we're going to land. And so a lot of it really where we exceeded last year was with growth. So the amount of growth that students made from 2 years ago to last year. Outcome data obviously was fairly strong, but it also depends on growth. So they'll look at the student where he performed in 3rd grade and where they thought he should perform or she should perform in 4th grade, and did we hit that mark with that individual student, yes or no, and then all that goes in that calculation. Again, probably about 6 weeks, and we'll start having an idea of where we'll land. Any questions about the state data? Just general updates. Some elementary, we had a great start to the year. We had lots of returning families. We did several events. We did the Meet the Teacher, Back to School Bash. We also had a kindergarten specific event. But all in all, like I said, we really had a good, strong start of the year. We had 65 kindergarten students start this year, and we changed something 2 years ago, and it's definitely, I think, helping us. Instead of waiting until the summer to start doing some of the readiness stuff, we start meeting with them late in the spring. Not only does it engage them with our school and starts interacting, but we have found that engagement alone has helped, because before they would apply, they'd find out February that they got in, and there really was no interaction with the school until late summer. And so what we've started doing, like I said, is starting to bring them in late spring, giving them an opportunity to get to know the teachers, for us to be able to assess, have an idea of kind of how to make that class the best possible grouping. Not like the other grades where we don't have the years before data to say, okay, here's how to create all of our groupings. And so I think that's had a positive impact. But all in all, walking through the halls, even in classes today, it's a lot of excitement, a lot of great teaching and learning, and also really excited just a lot of the work that we did with last year on our instruction and seeing continue. And we didn't start back from square one. I mean, our staff retention was still at about 95%. And so we really are, we've only got a handful of new teachers that we're going to work with to kind of get them caught up with some of the work, the instructional work we did last year. But really, I think we're able to hit the ground running for this year. So definitely a good transition to the start of school. Middle school, obviously, or not obviously, but still off to a great start there. Staff's doing an incredible job. We fully staffed. Ms. Rollins was able to join us last Thursday. And so she is filling in with one of our elective offerings and just jumped right in, and she's just been a great addition to the school as well. We are shifting a little bit of our week here. So on Fridays, the first part of the day runs like a normal Friday, and then the second half of the day, they've got a variety of clubs and extracurriculars that they can do. Some of it is to be able to I think kind of broaden the horizons a little bit. Some of it also is, we've got a small population here. If all the athletes leave to, like tonight, we've got 2 athletic events, and if they all have to go off and do the thing, well, then that leaves us with a smaller population to be able to run things like Beta Club or a gardening club or whatever. And so second half of Fridays will be an opportunity for some different exploration with that. Also giving us the opportunity during that time to do some interventions with some of the students that need some additional support as well. So some minor shifts there with middle school, but they've had a great start. A little bit of a culture shock the first day. Not only were, middle school for 4 years, 5, it's been trained to go around over here to the right of the building. And so all of them quickly realized that that's a fence that leads to nowhere. And so they are now going the other direction in terms of the unit just because of construction. And then also shifted high school, 9th grade, into the end here and moved 6th grade out. Did that for a few reasons, and that our primary purpose, which was, our 9th grade numbers were a little smaller. So size of the pods, it's hard to put 69 middle school students in one of these pods. And so you'll notice like on our numbers now, with the smaller grades, we can do that. As they get older, we try to avoid that because we have the smaller rooms. But then also, we had a whole group of 6th grade off the wait list that we could bring in an additional 10 students by moving them out there. However, the unintended consequences are not even a consequence, but really what happened is it's moved all the 9th grade out of the middle school, and you've got this little mature group over here that before was in the middle of that, and that meaning middle school. And so that's been a really good shift as well. Only temporary, obviously, come December, January, we all will be shifting out there. But it did, like I said, it filled an enrollment void for us. But then also it's allowed us to really kind of create this middle school group who in a couple months will all go to the new building together, all on the same level. So it's letting middle school sort of get its identity as well. So, but it has gone off well. Something we're doing new this year that we haven't done in a while is actually having an open house. We have to meet the teacher. That's really an opportunity to, just come in, say hi, put a face with the teacher and vice versa. But we are going to run a 6th to 8th grade open house on September 3rd. And then a 9th grade specific one 2 days later. And that will be set up where the families essentially follow the schedule. So, they'll go in and start with their first period class, and then it'll give about 15 minutes for that first period teacher to go over kind of in-depth syllabus, expectations, things that they're working on. So it's been a while since we've actually had an additional open house, so we're excited about doing that as well. To the athletes, and I see a few parents of athletes now, we were really limited on the number of days. Athletics is usually Tuesdays, Thursdays, volleyball Mondays. Try not to touch Wednesdays as much as possible, just for other family commitments. And so, but this was I think the best possible day that we could find. Dr. Ramsey will be starting to sit down some more about that next. And there's a few high school updates. So they started on Monday. They had an awesome start over there. I tell you, the halls feel a little bit different over there this year than it did last. We've had a large group of rising 10th graders go over there, which has kind of transformed the feel a little bit. Things are fine, but it was really small, tiny little program, and now it feels like a large little high school over there. But it's been great. We've when you look at some of our numbers right now. We've got 63% of our seniors that are taking at least a dual enrollment class, 72% of our juniors. We've got 34% of our sophomores that are doing it, and that's usually with our English 101, English 102 with Mr. Royce. And right now, over half of our students are taking a dual enrollment course. And so we're kind of excited about that opportunity. We've got our first senior meeting that we're going to have this year will be on Monday. And so that's all starting to take shape. I think it's been kind of exciting over there. The numbers at Eagle Tech has also grown a bit as well. And so, they've added some new programs, which some of our students are really excited about. We've got a welding cohort now that's over there. But just some of the general back to school, rah-rah stuff that takes place like at York Tech or any college. Our students are getting to participate and take advantage of that. So they've enjoyed their transitions thus far. So the high school's doing well, and then athletics is up and running. We are anticipating this season. Done a little bit of shifting. We're going to have a varsity and a middle school volleyball team. So it's a little bit different. Normally we've had a JV and a varsity. And what we discovered last year with basketball is a better approach, just given our size, is to treat one like middle, one like high. I love our 7th graders that have tons of spunk and courage, but a 12-year-old can only post up against a 16-year-old so much. And so what we have found though is when we separated boys basketball out to middle school, and we're just saying the same for volleyball as well, is that they will feel a lot better about the work that they're doing, about the outcomes of the games. And so we're excited to be able to do that. Boys and girls cross country is back. They had, I think, a scrimmage tonight. Scrimmage, I think, down in Chester. And then this year, boys and girls swim team. And I think if the numbers are right, we will have enough for a boy relay and a girl relay, which will be the first for us. So excited to be able to have both boys and girls relays in the same season. But the swim kicks off tonight. Actually, they're swimming at Northwestern over at Rock Aquatic Center as we speak. We've got 21 of our athletes. So Mr. Ball reached out, and Chick-fil-A has a leadership program that we applied for and we're accepted into. And so we've got 21 athletes in our upper class that are participating in this leadership program. Chick-fil-A actually was the sponsor for it. And so that was the sponsoring franchise for this area. And then we had an incredible Spirit Night at Empire Pizza, and so I think those are on the calendar for once a month, specifically for athletics, and PTO is doing it as well. But we had great success there, and so. Two more slides and I'm done. And my next slide has like a 1.5 minute video. Facilities update. So we are about 60% done. We are still on track for a mid-December end date. Elevator still on track to be installed in about 2 months. What's sort of on the the week ahead? I forgot to point this out. We did take a little tour earlier tonight. All of our exterior doors are on site in laying in the multi-purpose room over there, ready to be installed. So I forgot to point this out earlier. But what they're calling the storefront windows are getting installed next week. Cafeteria framing and the multi-purpose room framing, they got their trellises this afternoon. And then one will come next will be the actual roofing of it. And then the final framing, masonry's happening, and you can't see it from the front, but the back of the building, all the masonry up until the window sills has been done, and then there'll be siding above that. Roofing mostly done, except for, like I said, what's left over the multipurpose room. HVAC curbs are being installed. We got plumbing rough end is mostly done. It's passed its plumbing foundation inspection and passed another test on Friday. I can't remember the name of it. I'm sorry. And then fire sprinkling is getting put in as we speak, which we saw tonight. So I think we might have learned something new. So I don't know. I'm going to ask him tomorrow and see him. And then ductwork is being installed as we speak. Walk around. Thanks. Yes, Mr.
So I was gonna ask, we have an emergency supply of the medical.
From what I have been told, the fire retardant caulking that is used, we have plenty of. It will not be an issue for that building. This was a drone footage from about 3 hours ago. So yeah, if you got it now, all of those have been installed. The trellis is there, we're really across the top. Don't worry, we don't hit any of the people. No, it's like. I would, yeah. I would have been. Mr. FAA over there would probably be fine with it. I want to hear me. Me, I would have hit someone back into them and, yeah, there's an excellent.
You're not 400 feet or higher.
That's it. So again, all that's in progress. I would tell you, having a construction project here every day is a new day. Like the phone call you get at 10 o'clock this morning saying, hey, in about 60 minutes, we might accidentally cut your internet. And so, but it has all gone well. We have not had any outages due to that. We had obviously an outage Sunday night storm, but had nothing to do with construction sites. That's kind of where we're at with that. There really hasn't been any group work yet. I do think, we're starting to get samples now for, what furniture can look like. And so, that's not something that I definitely, or any one of us wants to kind of make an isolation. So I get a date for when they're going to coincide and let's know and see if we can get folks' input. Right now I can just envision day one happening. Let's just say it happens to be January. They say December 17th. December 18th, we report to school. Everyone goes to their first period, grabs their desk and their chair and carries it over to the new building. Like, I would love, so my vision, that would be awesome. It should make for a great photo. But no, it's, I'd like to talk to this guy earlier or late last week about, I think we're about a couple weeks away from, big stuff being done, and then now it becomes, all the little details, what's the band room gonna look like? What's, the furniture gonna look like? So all the fun stuff.
Sorry, speaking of facilities update, I'm actually kind of, I don't want to say shocked, but I'm surprised we haven't seen any change orders.
So so it's on the monthly report. So there's a change order, like contingency budget, like, for example, part of that was we've had two change order requests. One I just got my news. One was about, sinks for $32,000. We could have gotten a different sink. Fine with the sinks that the architect picked out, for $32,000. There's been a few things that have eaten into it, nothing recently, like, their intentions were, to use all the dirt from the retention pond as the foundation. But once they started digging, that dirt didn't pass the foundation test. So, then they started having to move the dirt from over there, which I'm still perplexed about where that dirt went and where did the dirt come from that just got replaced there the other day. But I'm happy to say it did. It really did just show up overnight. It was fun watching it for the day because the dump truck would come and it would make this loudest noise when it shook the back and the dirt came out. But literally in like 2 days, they had that whole thing kind of graded on a nice little slope up. We were all kind of curious what that was going to look like. So it's been kind of neat just watching, being able to take a step back and watch all the pieces fall in place.
Look, amazing, as much as been done already, it amazes me that we're still on target, just looking with everything that still needs to be done,
Yes.
right? That we're still on target by December next.
I think they said this, once they got that first set of roofs up, 80%'s done. Like, then the outside weather doesn't matter. I think they've got this last roofing area with that big multi-purpose room, but once that's done, everything else just kicks in high gear. That's all my things.
All right, so moving on, action items. I think the head of school evaluations first. This is I saw this in the pack. This is the head of school evaluation model we piloted last year.
We're still going to try to move forward with it. I took feedback that when we did this one, like I think it was last September, took some feedback. And so, I think part of what will transpire in the next 5 minutes is us trying to figure out how it's actually going to flow. But, so this month it's about having a safe and secure environment. So the high school may not operate the Riverwalk Academy in a way that jeopardizes the physical safety of its staff and students. And so kind of doing this in 2 parts. So that's kind of the statement that we all theoretically agree to. Y'all and trust me not to do this. Don't trust me to not there throws me for a loop every time, but y'all don't want me to operate in a way that jeopardizes the safety of the students. So my interpretation is that the protection of safety of all stakeholders means that the school has responsibility for safeguarding its stakeholders by securing the physical premises from unwanted access, ensuring that all visitors are screened and verified before entering, and conducting regular safety drills in compliance with the state board of ed or state regulations. And again, I know in the past we just kind of do this, but this would be the point where, in theory, without knowing what I said about myself, which I've got it because it's my report, but the board would agree or vote to say, we agree with my interpretation of what that means. Or y'all vote and say, I don't agree with the interpretation, not voting on necessarily, do you think I'm in compliance or anything like that at this point. It's really just, or do we agree to that statement? Y'all can choose to do something, we can also table this and, have a working meeting.
I do have one question for Mary Alice. Is the microphone picking me up? Yeah, good. Okay. If we were to say, hey, we're gonna vote, to see if we agree with the head of school interpretation, is that like an official board, like, hey, we're taking motions?
Yes, I think so. Yeah. I mean, you would vote to approve this interpretation.
And again, I stuck this on here, kind of like why we did it last year, just to get it going. So, eventually, and I really am okay, really, I mean, it's 100% up to y'all. Like, I'm really okay us putting this back up here and us finding some time in the next couple of weeks to have a little, committee meeting to really flesh out how, is this what, do we feel okay about this format? Are we okay about the word? So every y'all would like.
Well, and I don't know, Becky wasn't here last year. I think everybody else, the 5 members that were all part of this process last year. I'm not gonna speak for the whole board, but I would personally be okay with seeing if there's a motion to agree or disagree, and then we discuss.
I make a motion to agree.
All in favor? Or wait, sorry. Is there any discussion before we? Any discussion before we? No. All right. All in favor? Okay. Sorry. Got ahead of us. Okay.
Which I would move to accept it and think if there was a disagreement here, then obviously we're trying to talk through it. I don't think it gets redone like in that night, but we'll cross that.
Well, that's why I had to stop myself, because I'm used to just going straight. Thank you.
So then goes to part 2. And again, this is a working theory of how this thing can work. So in part 2, so we all agree to that interpretation. And so part 2 says, I think I'm in compliance with that interpretation. So, and why I think that, again, I love that we kind of piloted this a little bit last year, because, Mr. Willis had some great feedback, especially on this one. Like, if you say you've got these systems in place, I mean, y'all believe me, and we have a great relationship. But in theory, you say it, so like, where's the supporting data to show this? So what I have provided y'all in y'all's packets are 4 different things that kind of supports it. So school administration understands their roles, so make sure that we're all following, our visitor access. We do have the second set of secure doors in here. We know we've got secure bod doors. We know that the building that we just took a tour is going to have a secured lobby area. We do have a system that scans incoming visitor driver's license and putting visible badges on them. This is automatically checks for sex offenders or any other like background that gets flagged. If a visitor gets flagged, immediately there's about 3 of us that get an email and a text message. And so usually as soon as I get the text message, before I finish dialing, I'll hear Ms. Robinson holler down, I got it. 95% of anything that gets flagged, it's running essentially in a very finite amount of time. It's taking someone's name and it's taking their birth date and just running a quick database check. And so when a flag happens, and I've shown y'all some of the stuff behind the scenes, like when a flag happens, and I could have printed one of those out. It immediately shows us 2 photos. This is the picture of the driver's license that was just scanned. This is the picture of who he flagged from West Virginia or somewhere else. And we immediately can make a decision that these folks are 2 different genders. These folks are 2 different races. Clearly, it's just someone gets flagged. We have a visitor that's actually one of our service folks that every time he comes in, as he scans, he goes, don't forget. Sure enough, that's when the text comes in, he gets flagged every single time. But it does, like I said, it sends out an alert. They will also, if you go check in here, badge prints. If you're one of the folks that gets flagged, a badge doesn't print. I think 2 settings. If it doesn't print, or we'll say, please take it to front office. But like I said, it lets us quickly look. The document that I've given you under Appendix A is just an example of how many, you know, so yeah, the first one is just our visitors from from the first 10 days, or those 10, I mean, that was a screenshot. That wasn't the exhaustive list, but it showed you, and I've blanked out everyone's name. So it lets us know a log of who's coming in, what time they came in, when they left, where are they going, how long were they here. The second thing is, and I have blackout faces, it shows us, it does a screen capture of what's on the camera. And then if I click it, it also shows a screen capture of their license that got scanned. And so again, those are things that it's automatically sort of running behind the scenes. And then the bottom of that artifact is one of the emails, and I can show you the text alert that comes with it as well, that just says, hey, something needs to be reviewed because someone in your lobby just got flagged. And for anyone listening online, I'd say 95% of what gets alerted there are mismatches, and very obvious mismatches. It's not a case of someone's changed their hair color. It's pretty obvious mismatch. And then if someone is, and over the years we've had a couple that do have or on a registered sex offender or whatnot, but they're still a family member. It doesn't necessarily exclude anyone from our building. Obviously, someone like that would be escorted with an administrator and at all times. So I've sat in a few classes over the years with one or two family members come in, and so they don't have any open access to the campus. Whereas someone else is coming to have lunch with their child just comes right in and has lunch with their child. Someone that's like I said, I can count on one hand how many times it's really happened over the past 5, 6, 7 years that one of us will stay with it. There's that piece. And then now we have an SRO too, which is a little bit different than what it was before. Before, I mean, we kind of relied on what we had. We also relied on the fact that that person wouldn't leave our side, but having SRO here allows us to do a quick second check with him as well. So there's that. We also do background checks for any adult serving as a volunteer chaperone or volunteer coach. And so that background check is a little bit more thorough than what happens with those that are just coming to visit our campus. Because in theory, those folks could be left with a small group of kids, or if we have a chaperone and a field trip, we've got a parent that's going to be with 5 kids who are heading over to the zoo, heading in this direction, and a parent taking this group over there. And so those folks do go through a little bit more of a background check. I'm giving you there on appendix 2. So these are, I just ran quickly, click 2023. We had, I think, 100, I can't read that, 131, I think, total volunteers. And then just give you a screenshot of what we get. So anyone that applies, the company automatically does a review, and based on the criteria that we've set, we'll automatically approve or not. And then if someone's outside of that criteria that we've set, so like for example, someone comes back with no name changes, no criminal history whatsoever, nothing on the sex offender, or sex offender registry, like that person doesn't need a on-site person's review. It's past that initial check. But anyone that comes back who, let's say, just say had a name change in the past, 3 years, well, that person's going to get flagged for an internal review, and that will be done by us based on what it finds. And you can see here, like in this example, and again, I pull out everyone's names, that it gives us name, social, and then lets us know if there's some sort of, and it's got different hits. It's got criminal hits, it's got sex offender hits, it's a few things that it does sort of behind the scenes. But we've got that in place. We've used that company for about 4 years now, and it's been great, and parents seem to be comfortable with it. And it's the same system that all 4 of the local school districts use as well for volunteer chaperones. Right, safe training for our staff. We have safe drills throughout the year, fire emergencies. We're going to amp up and do a little bit more weather-related ones this year. true lockdown, we do training off that, and then what I'm giving you there in appendix 3 is, we had our first fire drill last week. And so in the front, we have a safety log. And so when we do a drill, we're capturing the date, the time, where did we pull it from? If we always pull, and it's always fun. So a lot of folks pull the fire alarm because most folks have never done that. So they all get a kick of who's going to pull this time. But if we always pull the same one, then I don't know for a fact that the one on the other side of the building is going to work. So we purposely note where we pull, so we're not pulling the same pull station twice. What time it started, what time was the last kid out, and then what time were we giving it all clear. So in this first drill, the last student exited the building at 2:28. And I mean, we sitting right in the middle of the hallway watching kind of what transpired. And it was super nice. The one class that was holding the door for the full other class, just all taking their time, which I appreciate them leaving in orderly fashion. But, in the future, we might not have a class of students holding the door for all the other students. We might turn it over to an adult. But we got everyone out under, in that time, and then we finally get the all clear. What that means is that everyone's out of the building, and we've got people that are immediately checking our reunification spots in the front, the folks in the back, clearing all the green cards that are out there. And then when that last all clear came, in this case, it was 4 minutes and 19 seconds. So you'll see those times, especially the time out building, will drop a little bit more the more we do it this year. Like I said, I think the first drill, everyone was being super polite. But then we also shift, things up. I don't like the same fire drill twice. So, for all I know, we might decide to walk and exit next fire drill. Just because, and true story, when I was teaching at school in Charlotte, we had a hallway that kind of looked like ours, and the last room was a bathroom, and smoke's pouring out of that. I happened to be the one in the hallway that saw it. I was fire alarm, and I sat there just in disbelief because everyone, the 4 classes that were supposed to exit that way, guess where they all exited? So, because that's the way they were trained, they all go out, go to the left. Well, they're passing the smoke to go out. In theory, I would have liked to have thought they would have rerouted themselves. So I have been known here to throw a little wrench in the exit plans just to see if the staff or students can reroute themselves. And I'm proud to announce, other than Mrs. McCrae's daughter, who I hit once, and I wanted to check that we really had a check and balance system in place. So I purposely moved her out of the line without the teacher knowing, and just sat back to watch our safeguards play out. And then the safeguards did play out. We immediately got a red flag from a staff member for saying I'm missing a kid, and then our sweepers swept, and we found her. And so again, if it's routine and mundane, then they're not going to know what to do in real life. So I do like to kind of mix it up there, not because I'm mean, but just really, I don't think take safety for granted, and should just be the standard.
Sorry,
No.
can I interject?
Please do.
You did let Ms. McCray know your private go.
I did, and I'm gonna tell you the truth. I probably should. So this, when I'm going to share, take away the good from what I'm getting ready to share, not what we went through. But it taught us a valuable lesson. True story. I did it. I hid Mrs. McCrae's daughter my first year here. I had a nice little chair, and I talked to her ahead of time. I said, look, when this happens, I'm going to walk by you. I'm just going to kind of corral you into the bathroom. In the last stall in the bathroom will be a chair. Okay? Someone at some point is going to come in and say there's a fire and needs to get out. I don't want you to leave. I don't want you to leave until somebody makes eye contact. Okay? So we have a red flag out there. So I knew where I hit her, and I know who the sweeper was. So, guys, we've got someone missing. Let's sweep again. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you. We swept again, and they didn't find her. I didn't have her hiding, like, with her feet up on the stall, like, none of that. Like, if you would have stuck your head in the boys', in this case, the girls' bathroom, and just looked, you would have seen her sitting there. I mean, she was just sitting in the doorway against the, like, you would have seen her. No fun. Well, let's do it again. Let me watch. So I watched. So the sweeper, who was a male, was worried that he should not stick his head in the girl's bathroom. That's why he never stuck his head in there to actually physically inspect. And I hope that looks of laughs. I mean, it is kind of funny and comical at the time. However, if we didn't do that, I would have never known that. And again, it's a fair thought. He's a male. He's not going to go into the girl's bathroom. But when there's a crisis, when there's a fire, we're not knocking. We're going in. So we don't even have to give a courtesy knock for you. Anyway, so that taught us a valuable lesson. Like again, that we would have never discovered that. Heaven forbid, and so until you have gone through. And so it really actually taught us a very valuable lesson. So there's that. And lastly, copy of our updated classroom, our crisis plan. We've got that version. We've got one that's a little bit more thorough in terms of folks. I've got more staff assigned to offsite verification. This year, we will have a signed agreement, and we're probably going to try to knock out two, one with York 1 and one with York 3. For bus transport. So if there was a situation where, we actually had to physically leave the area, or not just the church, but the area, it'd take a lot of little trips in that 14 passenger bus to get everyone out of here. So this year we will have a memorandum of agreement with two districts. And then Y2, technically, if this was a house, we sit in. This would be northwestern zones or zone in Rockville 3, but I'll also tell you that if you look at like the Catawba nuclear evacuation plans, we sit on the York side of the evacuation. So, so we want to have sort of all our bases covered. So that's something Prescott and I have kind of talked about over the summer. We had talked with the superintendent in York about it, and like I said, our goal this year is to actually have a signing agreement. So there's that. Again, kind of based on feedback that I got from y'all last time. Instead of just saying, one of us is supporting it. So in theory, the board would say, based on what I've provided, y'all agree with or disagree with this. If it's an agreement, then, and again, the whole notion is I'd rather know today that y'all have a concern about like this, than finding out in May that y'all had a concern all year. And so all the topics, there's a timeliness to the topic. So, we'll cover assessment data in a couple months. Well, that's because that data just getting ready to come out. So I'd rather know then than 4 months later. Financial, I'd rather know going in right after the audit that there's a concern versus waiting, and so everything does have a kind of a timeliness to it.
Good. Does anybody have any motions to make, agree or disagree? Line steps.
I'll make a motion. Agree with the head of school interpretation and check. I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Which is, the one thing I don't see is things like fire extinguishers or AEDs. Do you guys have any of them?
So our AED is right in the front. We are actually getting ready to purchase the second one. I wrote a grant and was approved. We're buying a second from the high school league. They have a little grant for schools that are doing, so we'll have a second one. That one will be a mobile one that stays with outdoor athletics. Obviously we'll have a new one over there. Fire extinguishers, I can show you our logs of fire extinguishers are done annually. Backflow, so the sprinkler backflow is done annually. The sprinkler test, they walk around with this thing that blows particles into the sensors. That's the annual test as well. So those are all done usually in July. So I've got those logs. That's a great question.
So, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. So next, we have board member resignation. So got an email about a month ago from Mr. Jeff Whittle, expressing his wish to resign from the board. So if we approve this resignation, there's going to be an additional appointment spot. This one will, be a one-year.
I'll make a motion that we approve that.
All in favor? Aye. Um, which is timely because we're, going to talk about, board leadership, position. So I sent an email, out to the board. It was a little late, later last week, so I thought, that it wasn't as timely as it could have been. And I don't know that anybody received it. I didn't get any responses, but we, do need to at least talk about, the election board, leadership positions. So the officers, chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer. Dr. Compton sent out, these responsibilities, in an email. I believe it was the middle of last week that you sent this out for everybody. Currently, or in the last session, I would act as board chair. Kevin Willis was, vice chair, treasurer Mike Wallace, and secretary Bridget. Oh, it's changed. Okay, well, we're wrong on better hands. All right. Congratulations. Okay. Awesome. Excuse me while I get my foot out of my mouth. So, did anybody have any, so since we're gonna go through these, does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns? Do we want to table this till next time so people have more of an opportunity to think about the positions, express their interest? Since I didn't get any interest from anybody, I'm kind of not sure how to proceed. Anybody just want to throw their name in the hat right now?
I would be glad to continue as treasurer. Yes. I've done absolutely nothing.
You realize we're in a session.
Mr. Wallace, I'd like to let everyone know that during Treasury Week, had to clean the bit of ink.
It's an easy job.
I mean,
The audit goes well. Yeah.
When things go well, it's easy.
As long as the audit goes well.
But
Yes.
Yes.
Throw my name in too for.
Okay, so we've got a couple of people who have expressed interest in treasurer position. So Amy, Mike,
I will be glad to let Amy have that.
all right. Cross your name out there. At least it's a productive discussion. Is anybody interested in, I'm just gonna go straight to the chair. Does anybody want to be the chair?
Are you willing to continue?
I am. Appreciate the vote of confidence. So I will put my name in the hat, but I welcome any and all challenges.
I zoomed in a little bit on Mary Allison so we can watch her shake her head in disbelief and consent. Just kidding.
I apologize, Mary Allison. I run a very loose ship around here. So. Which does not speak well for me going for chair. Vice chair. Does anybody care to put the name of the hat for vice chair?
I'll continue to do it. However, I will say if there's someone else with interest, like you, if we have good continuity, me, like,
And I have been thinking about that. I do want to bring that up. Maybe not this meeting, but I do want to bring that up. at the beginning. Anybody else interested in question? Anybody want to be secretary? You should. It's does anybody else have interest in being the secretary?
Make sure we keep actually bringing your laptop everyone. Sorry.
Would it be appropriate since we have one person that is open to each position, that we just elect each of these people by acclamation?
I mean, if you wanna make a motion that you,
I make that motion that we elect each person to these positions by acclamation.
all in favor? Aye. All right, so, that was a lot easier than perhaps previous meetings. I'm sorry if that was unorthodox, Mary Allison. I hope I didn't.
It works.
It worked. So y'all, you made a motion for, is it Mike, your chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Correct. Kevin, vice chair, Bridget, secretary, and then I didn't catch treasurer.
Amy Chip.
Amy. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Thank you. So that's,
Did y'all second and vote on that? I just couldn't hear.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Perfect.
yes, there's, Mr. Wallace made a motion, Mr. Country seconded.
Great. Thank you.
So discussion on board appointments. So, like we talked about with the resignation, we do have an additional board appointment for another year on top of the 2 appointments in 2 year terms. I know Dr. Compton has been reaching out to some folks in the community.
I've got a follow-up meeting with a gentleman on Thursday who's works in the finance office with one of the institutions of higher ed close to us. And then someone who works in marketing for one of the nonprofits, next week. One, I think is most definitely interested. I'm hoping to have, and these are folks that I've reached out to the chamber annually, and they've given us some names. And so just trying to find some folks with some diverse background. We've got some great parents on the board. We've got folks with different backgrounds, and so it's just nice to have good representation of the community. So some 2 names for about
If those people are interested, you'll get a letter of interest.
yeah, so all that, so what and all I'm doing is just talking to them about what the board is and letting them know what they would just do is submit a cover letter and a resume, and they just submit it to Mike.
So all 3 of the positions are appointed positions.
So we have 2 positions that are gonna be for 2 years, so through 26, and then the Mr. Wills position will go through 25. So one's a 1-year commitment, one's a 2-year, right? One's a 1 year, and 2 of them are 2 years.
And so I will say I think everybody else was on the board last time we did this, except for Becky. But I think the philosophy has been that we try to find folks in the community who have skill sets that we don't have existing. So that's kind of the philosophy picture that we have a diverse set of skills and thoughts and keep it more healthy, less interesting. I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, yeah. Last thing. So you said there were 2 potentially.
I've got 2 that I think I'll know for sure for one on Thursday and the other on Tuesday next week.
So that means we need at least one more candidate. And again, previously we've taken some time on these positions. We haven't just jumped right in on the first candidates. We have asked candidates for just to round out the what we felt we needed for the skill sets. So any of your well qualified friends, colleagues, acquaintances, wherever you find community members that please throw them under the bus.
These 2 are one's marketing, one is finance. So we've got another whole sector of the community that I'd love to be able to tap into as well. A lot of entrepreneurial type folks, local business owner type thing, just to give that perspective.
I think that's all I really have. Questions? probably one of the more disheveled pictures you usually be. Thanks, Mike. Friends like you. I don't really have, anything. I will say that I did miss the fact that we didn't have recognitions this time around, but it being the start of the year, I assume we'll be getting recognitions, back in.
We will start, we've got, a couple students at Mr. Ball we'll have in September. We'll have our staff members of the month again, starting our September meeting. So same here. I'm, kind of missed doing that.
But otherwise, we didn't have a meeting in July. I'm happy to see everybody. Welcome to Becky and, appreciate everybody. And with that, take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I give it to Amy. All in favor? Aye. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Mary.